Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Coming up on this episode of The Entrepreneurial You.
In my early career, I had experiences where I felt unmotivated, uninspired, unfulfilled, disengaged. And it was the first time I felt that way. And at first I made myself wrong. What am I doing that's wrong? But I didn't necessarily say what's wrong with the environment and why is it not for me? And so somehow I figured out, I think it's because I'm human, that the greatest way to feel the very opposite of how I felt, right? I wanted to feel engaged. I wanted to feel inspired and fulfilled by each day. Somehow I figured out that the greatest way to feel that way is to help others around me feel that way.
Hi, I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter, your inspirational leader and host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Jamaica Stock Exchange. And now let's go to today's episode. On episode 77 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast is Head of Community and Communications at Simon Sinek. He engages people in meaningful ways so that we live in a more fulfilled world. And who doesn't want that? He started with Simon Sinek's team in 2012 by answering fan email and now leads community and communications initiatives. He is committed to ensuring that Team Simon Sinek and those they serve live their why, their just cause, from the inside out. He is a dynamic speaker and facilitator who keynotes, leads workshops, and coaches leaders and organizations to discover, articulate, and live their why. He lives in Toronto, Canada with his wife and daughter. All this good stuff is about my guest today, Stephen Shedletzky. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial You podcast, Stephen.
Thanks so much for having me. Hello.
It is my pleasure. Have you ever been to Jamaica?
I have not, but I've heard such wonderful things. I'd love to make it down to Jamaica, man.
Yes, man, which means you need to fix that, man.
I'll get right on it.
And the truth is, we do not insert man at the end of our sentences. Like, everybody thinks we do, and everything is Irish, no problem, man. We don't always say that.
Well, everyone thinks I'm from Canada, so everyone thinks we end every sentence with A.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Okay, so we're going to be talking about living from the inside out, the key to a fulfilled life. There's hardly anyone who doesn't know about Simon Sinek's Start with a Why, or even Stephen Covey's habit of begin with the end in mind. What is a why, and what does it mean to live your why?
Absolutely. So our why is our purpose, cause, or belief. Our why, whether it's an individual or an organization, it's the reason we exist. And each and every one of us has one. Our why is based on who we are. It's our origin story. So it's those times in our lives from our earliest memory, from as a child up until this very instant, of the times where we've been at our best and even the times where we've been most challenged. And in sharing those stories, those peak and valley stories, themes emerge, and that is your why, that is your purpose. And we each have one. And the two ingredients of our why, or our just cause, is a contribution and an impact. So our contribution is the thing that we do. It's our top strength. It's the thing that we are world class at, and everyone in the world is world class at something. And our impact is what we care about creating. It's what we feel every human being deserves to experience. It's something we want for ourselves, and it's something we want for everyone around us. And our impact is not something we can ever achieve. It's an aim, which is why our why is infinite. Our why is not something we can check off a list. Our why is something that we can strive to bring to life today, and then wake up tomorrow and do it more and bigger. So yeah, that's our why.
Everyone is world class about something. That's what, yes, that's a very profound statement. And then you also talked about the peaks and the valleys. So you're saying the valleys that we face in life, for example, the struggles, many persons in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, they go through struggles like, our history. Our history defines us in a lot of ways, right? And it determines sometimes how far we go because we have limiting beliefs that are based on those valleys that we would have been faced with throughout our childhood, etc. So given that, that is a fact for many and a reality for many people, those valleys, you're saying that they serve a purpose.
Oh my God, yeah. That is the full spectrum of life. So we are defined by what are the experiences we've overcome, and then purpose lives, and how can we help others go through their experience of overcoming it as well. So our purpose isn't simply sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. It's not all positive. We can learn about our life's purpose, our why, just as much from those times in our life and our history that have been hard, but we're proud of how we've come out the other side of it. And then again, we derive great fulfillment by designing our careers and lives from a place that help others overcome those experiences as well.
So for someone right now who is feeling so despondent and perhaps struggling as an entrepreneur, perhaps struggling at life, what have you to say to that person?
Well, this is my experience. I'm a story of this. So I started my career. I graduated from a great school, and I started working in the corporate world. And on my first day at my first job out of school, 1,000 people were let go from the company. I was the kid walking in with a box, as many more were walking out. And I saw the impact of a tumultuous culture on people's lives and on their health. It was awful. And so in my early career, I had experiences where I felt unmotivated, uninspired, unfulfilled, disengaged. And it was the first time I felt that way. And at first I made myself wrong. What am I doing that's wrong? But I didn't necessarily say what's wrong with the environment and why is it not for me? And so somehow I figured out, I think it's because I'm human, that the greatest way to feel the very opposite of how I felt, right? I wanted to feel engaged. I wanted to feel inspired and fulfilled by each day. Somehow I figured out that the greatest way to feel that way is to help others around me feel that way. And so for anyone who's struggling in life, in their career as an entrepreneur, our struggles are the things that make us stronger, right? What's the cliche? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right? And then if you can take that and help others who are going through the same experience, you'll be really good at it. And it'll be extremely fulfilling.
I am a big subscriber to the Bible, and the Bible speaks a lot to all of these things, right? And a lot of these self-help books that we read, The Secrets and, Think and Grow Rich and all these books, I mean, their wisdom are trickling down from what the Bible and Scripture tells us to say all things work together for good, not that all things are good, but they work together for good.
I love that.
Indeed. Give us that path, as it were, if there ever were one, that path on that journey to living that life that is fulfilled.
So first and foremost, you need to discover it. So in order to live the life where you feel fulfilled and you help the people around you feel fulfilled, you have to figure out what will help you feel fulfilled, and that is your why discovery. And again, it is going through those peaks and valley experiences. But the key is you cannot do it alone. If you went into your restroom, your washroom, looked in the mirror and said, "What's my why?" you're not going to find it. You need an objective perspective of someone who's a good listener and someone you can trust. And the trick is not working with a spouse or a sibling or someone who knows you too well. You need to work with someone who knows you a little bit, but mostly someone you trust. So first and foremost, you need to discover your why. And in sharing those stories with somebody else, they will be your mirror. And they share back with you the themes that kept coming up consistently across all these stories. And through that, this golden thread or a pattern emerges that are really the blueprint of your why and your hows. Your hows are your strengths or your values in action. So first and foremost, you need to discover it. And once you discover it, you now have a tool. You have a hammer. But the only way the hammer will make an impact is if you use it. So you have to use what you know about yourself, the clarity that you know of yourself, into every decision you make around the clients you say yes to, the people you bring on. You need to actually use it as a filter for your decision making for it to have an impact. And this is what happened for Simon as well. Simon Sinek, our founder and the person who discovered this concept of why and the golden circle, he was leading a small communications consulting firm in New York City, and he had a handful of great clients, and he made it into year 4 of his business. And that's significant because in the US, where he's based, 9 out of 10 businesses fail within the first 4 years. And so he was on this rat race to make it into year 4, make it into year 4, make it into year 4. And when he did, he realized what he did. He realized the products or services he offered. He realized how he did it different and better than his peers or his competition. He simply lost focus of his why. And he spent about 6 weeks to discover his why, which is to inspire people to do the things that inspire them, so that together each of us can change our world for the better. And when he discovered it, he had that clarity, he then used it. And he only said yes to clients who were going to bring that cause to life. And he only brought on people onto his team that also cared about his vision of a more inspiring, safe, and fulfilled world. So if you want to live your why, you have to discover it, and then you have to use it every single day across your entire career and life.
Interesting. And we're going to take a break right here. It's a important part, which we'll break. And then we come right back. We're going to continue on talking about working with Simon Sinek, as well as pick up from, some things that you mentioned about discovering and sharing, so that we can talk about listening and vulnerability on the path to discovering our why and live that fulfilled life. So let's take a break. This review comes from Kate Stud 24 out of the US, and this user says, "This podcast rocks. With the uniqueness that it brings to the game, it is well worth the listen. Unlike the Common Business podcast, Heneka talks about things other podcasters don't, and it works." So thank you so much, Kate Stud 24, for this review. So you want to start your podcast, but you don't know where to host it. Go to HenekaWatkis-Porter.com and claim your 1 month free of podcast hosting on Blueberry. Or if you already have your host but aren't getting statistics on your podcast, you can claim 1 month free stats from Blueberry at HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. That's HenekaWatkis-Porter.com. Go right now and claim your 1 month free statistics.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mahfood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
LeaderCast Woman 2018 is happening October 12 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Attend LeaderCast Woman 2018 and learn how you can be a leader who motivates people and champion ideas in ways you never thought possible. Register now at HenekaWatkis-Porter.com or call 876-849-2571 to claim your 20% discount for a limited time only. That's HenekaWatkis-Porter.com or 876-849-2571 to claim your 20% discount for a limited time. Welcome back. And if you've just joined me, I am actually talking with Stephen Shedletzky. Stephen is Head of Community and Communications at Simon Sinek. Welcome back, Stephen.
Thanks, Heneka.
I wanted to pick up with you. What's it like working with Simon? How did you get on board? And just tell us a little story about that. And then I'm going to pick up from some of the things you talked about earlier on the path to living a fulfilled life.
Sure. I'm very fortunate. I got lucky at the right time. So in that first job that I was mentioning to you, where I joined and 1,000 people were let go on the first day, my first job at that company was in supply chain. And then my second job was going to be in marketing. And I said to a mentor of mine that I didn't want to do marketing for an organization where I didn't believe what they sold and how they sold it. And he said, watch this video. This was in 2010, and he sent me Simon's TED Talk that many people have seen about the golden circle, about starting with why. And in honest truth, I procrastinated for about a couple of months and then finally watched it. And I loved Simon's message. It wasn't anything I hadn't heard, but it explained things in such simple ways that allowed me to use it and share it with others. I became an advocate and a champion of the message. I went to a conference to hear Malcolm Gladwell speak, who's another great author. He's written Outliers and David and Goliath. And little did I know, Tipping Point, yeah. Simon was speaking just before Malcolm Gladwell. And it's like I had found my Martin Luther King. I'd found my orator. I found the person who spoke about a future, a vision that I wanted to be a part of and contribute toward. I met him in the hall. I wrote to him on LinkedIn when he still responded on LinkedIn. I now lead a team that helps to respond to people who write to us on LinkedIn. And I just got lucky. It was right time, right place. I sincerely care about his vision, which is a world in which the vast majority of people wake up each day feeling inspired, feel safe at work, and return home fulfilled by the work that they do. And to your point, Heneka, we don't need to like every day to love every day. And it was just right time, right place. I got to join the team when we were really small. I was the 5th person to join, and we're now up to 25. And working with him is a great pleasure. To me, I really look up to him and respect him. And he's like a father figure to me in many respects. And yet he treats me as his equal, which is great. He has no reason that he needs to, but he does. And so he truly practices what he preaches. He's very intense and cares deeply about our work and his vision, because it's his life's work and it's the legacy that he wishes to leave. But he practices what he preaches, and he's the real deal.
Awesome. The hallmark of a great leader. You talked about earlier when we discussed the whole issue of that journey of, living that fulfilled life. You mentioned the words discovery and sharing, which immediately the words that jumped out at me when you said that were listening and vulnerability. In order to discover, you must be listening to yourself, for one, listening to the clues that are being shared around you, listening to others around you. And in terms of sharing that so that you can improve and to identify what it is that you ought to be doing, it means that you also have to become vulnerable. So what do you say to that?
I say most definitely. And I mean, this is how we grow, right? Growing is with feedback, and we can give ourselves feedback. Some people do it with journaling, or they'll speak out loud, or they'll share it with other people. But yeah, I'm a huge advocate of, if you want to grow, if you want to live and lead a fulfilled life. I mean, the beautiful thing about vulnerability is not only do you learn more about yourself, but vulnerability is a key ingredient to developing empathy with others. Because empathy is developed when I build more relationship with you and where you're at. And I won't know that unless you share it with me. And once you do share it with me, well, then I can have empathy. I can attempt to understand where you're coming from. So I'm a big, big believer. I mean, my why is all about deeper relationship with ourselves. That's self-awareness, with the people around us and the world around us. And when we have deeper connection and deeper relationship with those three things, we will experience greater fulfillment.
I just got a Facebook question, and the question comes from Janelle Jermaine Alcock, and he says, "Hey, Heneka, ask about what comes next after you've figured out your why, your purpose, your goals. In other words, the stages of turning that initial passion into an end result."
Great question. The wonderful thing about our why is the end result is really legacy. The end result, it's not complete. It's always evolving and growing. First and foremost, I mentioned that our contribution, right? The contribution part of our why is the thing that we are world class at. But here's another truth. As human beings, we're a social species. We're better together. As individuals, we're junk. Like, we each have wonderful strengths, but we also have weaknesses and blind spots. But together, we're strong. Together, we're remarkable. That's why we work at our best in teams, in tribes, in communities. And so when you discover your why and you discover what you care about, to go fast, go alone, but to go far, go together. You have to find people who also care about what you care about. If you don't, it's actually selfish. You're not going to accomplish as much. So I think, a real great thing to do, Jermaine, is to figure out, okay, what do you care about? And then how can you find other people who care about that as well? And it could be people that you work with formally on your team, or it could be partnerships or just friendships and relationships. And you build a community, a tribe of people who care about what you care about. And together you can make progress toward that better world, that vision that you both equally share and imagine. And then the end result is that it's infinite. So Simon's next book that he's working on right now is called The Infinite Game. That when we discover our why, I like to say that it's a pair of shoes that we'll never grow into, right? We don't just wake up one day, Heneka, live our why and be like, all right, I'm done.
That's it.
No, we wake up tomorrow and do more, right? And the thing is this is where legacy, our why is where legacy lives. And what is legacy, right? So when we die, our life ends, but yet we can be remembered and we can even inspire people, right? Like, this is Martin Luther King Jr. He stands for a more just and equal world, right? Where the rule of man and the rule of law is one and the same, right? And though King Jr. is not with us, he is with us more than ever, right? And we look to him for inspiration because of what he stood for. He has lived a legacy. So the end result is you and what you create will actually be a catalyst to inspire people to bring your vision to life even more so, whether it's on this earth or on Mars or wherever it might be.
And every day we live, we should live to inspire. We're not living for ourselves alone. Mm-hmm. That's a beautiful question that came from Janelle Jermaine Alcock, and so beautifully responded to. At this time, Stephen, any final thoughts before you go ahead and share that giveaway that you have for our community of peak performers, as well as share your contact information?
Sure. Like I alluded to just previously, the one thing in common with all of Simon and our team's work is that together is better, and we're social animals. And so when I think of this work of striving to create a more inspiring, safe, and fulfilled world, it is not something any of us can do on our own. It's something that we really need to do together. And so if you look at a program that has created the most meaningful, sustainable change in people's lives for the over 85 years, it's an organization called Alcoholics Anonymous. And many of us are familiar with the organization. And they have a 12-step program. Step one, and some of us even make a joke of it, is admit you have a problem. But it's true. We unless we surrender, unless we know that we're trying to improve upon something, there's no way we can improve upon it, right? Self-awareness and vulnerability. But what Alcohol Anonymous knows is step 12 is the most important. Because the thing is when you want to create change, you never just create it and it's done. You are constantly working at it. For example, the disease of alcoholism, you never beat it. You are always overcoming. And step 12 is the commitment to share what you know and to give it to another. Step 12 is service. And so if you want to create meaningful or sustainable change, if you want to create some good in the world, bring others along with you and help them create good in their lives too. So that's my final word there. In terms of giveaway and contact. If you want to find your why, we have tons of tools available on our website, startwithwhy.com. We have a book that just came out last fall called Find Your Why that takes you step by step through the process of discovering your why, and you can even help others and even teams discover their why as well. And we also have an online course available where you can go through step by step to discover your why. And you can find me on all the normal places, on Twitter and LinkedIn. Please feel free to search my name, Stephen Shedletzky, and you can definitely find me. And always feel free to write into our team at startwithwhy.com.
Awesome. We're living our best lives when we are living in service to others. It has been an amazing time I've had here talking with you, Stephen, about living your best life and starting with the why, and why that is so important on our life's journey. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And I wish you all the best on your onward journey.
Thanks, Heneka.
We have come to the end of another great episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Remember to subscribe in Apple Podcast and download all the episodes that you would have missed if you have not already subscribed and downloaded the episodes, and play them to the end as well, because good stuff is always at the end too. So do that, as well as go and leave a rate and review right now. I'd appreciate that. It helps a lot because I put a lot of effort into creating this free content, and it does help when I know that it is of significant value to you. So show your love by going to Apple Podcasts and just leave a rate and review. And when you leave that review, do send me an email at heneka@gmail.com, because I'd love to be able to read them in an upcoming episode. And if I'm not notified, I won't know it's there, because unless you go into all the different stores in Apple, there is no way that I can actually know that a review was left or a current review was left. So it's important that when you leave your review, you send me an email, let me know about it, so I can go look for it and read it live on an episode of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Walk good.